Penn State football gets their might be fifth commitment at tight end for the class of 2023. I'm your host, Thomas Frank Carr, and on T. Frank's Film Room, today we're taking a look at athlete Neo Avery. It is 3 of the 6 commitments in the class of 2023. Penn State off to a hot start at the tight end position. And quickly, just to kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at today, Neo Avery plays quarterback. So far, Penn State has a jumbo athlete in Mega Barnwell at tight end, listed as an athlete by On3. Joey Schlaffer, probably the most pure athlete, tight end of the position in the traditional Penn State sense of a guy who has lined up with his hand in the dirt at tight end and split out wide and has the traits and characteristics of a traditional Penn State tight end. And now you've got a guy who plays quarterback and likes to truck stick people, much like Tyler Warren, who committed to Penn State a couple of years ago. So 3 different athletes, all kind of doing the same thing of defying positional expectations and traits at their high school positions. Guys, if you don't really know what to do with a guy as an offensive skill player, and they're too big, they're too fast, they're too strong, they're too something, put him at tight end, because tight end is the footballiest position of the offense where they've got to be good at everything. Running, catching, blocking, be strong, be fast. They are the most bizarro athletes on the football field at their peak of ability. And that's what Penn State is, a collection of different versions of that in the class of 2023 who have different growth patterns and growth potential. So a good group and a good mix of offensive athletes that are going to translate in unique ways to the next level. Let's take a look at Neo Avery, though, and introduce you to him. 6'4", 225 from Good Counsel High School. He's from Glen Burnie, Maryland. 142nd overall player in the nation. 6th athlete, according to On3, and in the state of Maryland, the 4th overall player for the class of 2023. Now, like I mentioned, he played quarterback in high school. So to set up some of this stuff, first off, the best way to do it would be hear it in his own words. He spoke to Ryan Snyder over at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com and gave you kind of a rundown of how his season went and why he started playing defensive end at the end of the season. Check out that information over there. Sign up for just $1. You can be an On3 Plus member, and you'll get Blue White Illustrated Plus content. You also get access to the message board, and you can hear stuff before it happens from Ryan, as he has the inside track on this stuff. It's super worth it. $1 for 12 months of access. If you're a Penn State football super fan, this is where it all starts. This recruiting stuff is where all of it starts. And guys like Neo Avery and the guys we already mentioned are critical to that particular effort. So, quarterback, playing tight end at the next level, there's going to be a good bit of translation in the film we watch. But the easiest place to start is if you're going to be the 142nd overall player in America, the 6th athlete with no true designation of position, you better have a lot of tools. And Neo Avery has a lot of tools. Big, physical, and runs like a deer. Really good in a straight line, great speed when he gets into the open field. Just imagine that instead of doing that from the pocket, he caught a check down and is running down the field. That's kind of the same thing. When you give him an open gap or you give him an open space, he is gone. Big, long strides, good speed, and then I like this when you watch him play, some creativity with the ball in his hands to make people miss. That's going to be a very valuable asset as a receiver down the line. And then the physicality, which we'll get to more of in a minute, but you're going to watch him truck stick a couple of guys. You need to have that tenacity if you're going to play tight end. He is not afraid of contact. He engages contact on a regular basis, and you see here playing defensive end, setting the edge, good burst, and then you see here just another way to evaluate and gauge his speed, tracking down the ball carrier down the football field. And again, once again, back at quarterback, breaking the pocket, some elusiveness. You're going to need a little bit of wiggle as a tight end as well to be the best of that version of what he is the super athlete at tight end, that Tyler Warren do-it-all type of player. So, great building blocks to start and a good frame to grow. He clearly, based on his physicality and his size, is somebody that's going to keep getting bigger. So another 10 pounds before he even gets to college is probably more than reasonable. And one of the things I like when watching him, first off, some of this video is almost a year old because Good Counsel played in the spring last season, And that's where some of this video is coming from. Some of it is from his junior season, but you can see the physical development over time, and he's got that ability to grow. Sometimes when you see an athlete and they're 225 pounds and they're fully expressive in their traits and features, that's not Neo Avery. He hasn't topped out yet. So all of that stuff is going to be accentuated by more in general. I think he can still get bigger, as far as his frame and his length and all those things. He looks like he's still clearly growing. So some of that stuff is going to top out soon, but you can see that he's got a lot of potential from a physical standpoint. And we'll get to more of that at the end, but when it comes to that physicality, you saw it, right? His ability to run players over, it happens on both sides of the football. As a quarterback, he is not afraid of contact, and he can lower his shoulder and get tough yards. If you're a tight end, you're going to be doing the dirty work, not just as a blocker, which we need to see that physicality, but also short yardage situations, breaking tackles in the short area. And here, this translates to being a blocker. It's just the opposite effect. He's got to be able to push guys off the ball. Here he is pushing back on the other side of the line of scrimmage. It's just about setting the line of scrimmage. And then truck sticks are fun. Everyone likes watching somebody run over a defender, right? Pushing the pile, strength, leverage, I think, is really good for him when it's good. And then the ability to just run through people. The desire for contact as a quarterback, as a defensive end, as a marketing specialist, I imagine, for his football team, and as a guy that, fills up the water. He's not afraid of contact or hard work. He's very much one of those guys. So all of those are great signs that he's going to translate well to the tight end position. And as a quarterback, playing that position, I'm only showing you the running highlights. I'm only showing you the parts that will translate to playing tight end. But he threw the ball. This was not a guy that was only back there to run. He's throwing the ball down the field and actually had some interesting concepts and some throws that I was pretty impressed with. Decent arm, but when you do that and you're asked to do both, you have to see the full football field. So understanding football concepts, what is the offense trying to accomplish? Why is that route going to that area? That's all going to help him as a tight end to understand the picture holistically, not just, I need to get to this point, I need to run the route this way. He has to learn all of that stuff, from blocking techniques to route running to cutting, precision at the position, not just running with the ball in his hands, with calculated movements as a receiver. All of that has to come, but from the global big picture, he's going to understand offense, both run and pass, better for playing quarterback. But eventually he does have to learn those positional skills, and that's where we're going to have our biggest gap in the evaluation of, can he do some of those things? We'll do our best to figure out where along the line we can fill in some of that information, and one of those things is, as a tight end or as a receiver, you need to get off the line of scrimmage with good burst. As a quarterback, hard to really evaluate when everyone's moving around you and you're reacting instead of causing the action. But as a defensive end, we don't have a problem. We know that for sure. And we're going to see him turning and running a little bit in these clips here. But you better block him if he's a defensive end. In fact, his play defensive end kind of opened my eyes about what he could do at the next level on either side of the ball. Here we see him run one way, change directions, trying to give some idea about his ability to do that as a receiver, but then the burst really is what we're looking at. His ability to just, off the line of scrimmage, beat people to the point of attack. And he beats people to the point of attack, and he beats people with strength and physicality, so we're building a pretty good profile of a tight end from the physical standpoint. Here we're going to watch him chase down the quarterback in the far flat. When he decides to go, he goes. So those skills, again, when it comes back to the tools, they're great. Positionally, they're great as well. I still think there can be some improvement from he's pretty linear, plays pretty high. Now, that isn't a bad thing necessarily as a tight end, but it is going to inform what routes he's better at, where his natural affinities are, and what he's going to have to work at when he gets to that position of cutting, selling routes, all of those things. Taller athletes have a harder time in those short areas where they have to make 90-degree cuts and do that to create separation. I still think his pad level is good for a guy who is 6'4", almost 6'5", but that's an area where I have some questions, and I'd like to see that going forward, whenever that is. but it's not by any means anything that's going to prevent him from being a good football player at that position. The last thing, and it kind of ties into the pad level, and it ties into the fact of he was playing a new position at the end of the season. There are some, I do think that as much as the growth potential is there, it does have to be realized. This is not something where he's going to be unnaturally strong at 225 pounds. He needs the extra size to be a difference maker. And some of these highlights that you're going to see, most of these here, when we're examining his power and his lower body drive, these are against another Division I football player for the class of 2024 for St. John's. That tackle is a very good football player. But here you can see his pad level. I think that's what I'm talking about with the translation of his natural strength right now. There are times he gets a little high, but he's new to defensive end. He was not playing that all season, but when he gets caught, he gets caught. And that is an area where, whether it's the positional skills of defensive end or whether it's his need to develop and continue to grow, I think both are fair to point out. And you can see here, just when he gets tired and he gets stuck, he gets stuck. So those are things to monitor going forward, because as much as these are skill related to the defensive end position, they do show, I think, some of the areas, some of the tweaks where he can continue to get better and translate to that tight end position, or at least things I'm monitoring going forward of, I think he's a tenacious football player. I think he's a strong football player, but the next level for him is to have that raw power and that overwhelming physicality as both a runner when he's breaking tackles, because I think there were some times he gets caught up a little bit by arm tackles that shouldn't bring him down. Just that leg drive to push through that will make him even better. And talked about this before, every football player is trying to get bigger, faster, and stronger every offseason. Doesn't matter what level of football. So these are already being addressed. This is not something that he needs to spend extra time working on. It's in the natural growth and development of every young football player going from their junior season to their senior season and then to college. Plenty of time to make that happen. And you would bet on, based on what he's done so far, how strong he already is, and his growth potential, that it's going to happen. But it's something that does have to happen. I guess that's the difference there. So that'll do it for T. Frank's Film Room on Neo Avery. If you like this, make sure you like the video, subscribe to Blue White Illustrated, and hit the notification button so you never miss T. Frank's Film Room to get the inside information and the real scoop on what these football players are like that are committing to Penn State. I am your host, Thomas Frank Carr, and we will talk to you later.